All right, NLP Master, your ninja training is approaching rapidly, and I just want to do this quick video to let you know how to prepare for the NLP Trainers Training. NLP Trainers Training is a different kind of a training than you've taken before. We're not going to teach you any new NLP at the training, right? You are a master practitioner of NLP. We have assumed that you have mastered neuro-linguistic programming in order to become a trainer of it. And so in order to really master that, I want to give you some study guides and some things that you can do to prepare for the training. Essentially, NLP Trainers Training, of course, it's an 18-day training. We have a couple of days off throughout the training. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to be a magnificent trainer, a magnificent presenter and speaker. We're going to teach you a little bit about the business of NLP and how to conduct trainings and things of that nature. That being said, you are going to be giving presentations on NLP topics while you are at the training. Now, we start with tiny bite-sized pieces, right? We're not just going to throw you in and have you training NLP on day one, right? There's little tiny bite-sized pieces, and I want you to know that at every step along the way, we've designed the training so that it is an incremental process. We start with something very easy on day one, and then the next exercise is progressively a little deeper and progressively deeper and deeper. So throughout the process, in the first 2 weeks of the training, you'll be giving 2 NLP presentations. We'll tell you about the structure of those presentations as we go through the training. But what I want you to do is I want you to think of your favorite 3 or 4 topics from either practitioner training or master practitioner training, or both, that you enjoy, that you like, right? It's good to present on something that you really like because you're going to be more engaged, you're going to be more excited about doing it. And so I want you to pick your top 3 or 4. 4 is a good number. Pick your top 4 NLP topics that you love. Now, a couple of things to bear in mind. The topics that you pick should be topics that have an exercise. So as you're going back through your practitioner and your master practitioner materials, think back to the exercises that you did. And so, like for instance, the segment on cause and effect, for instance, does not have an exercise in our NLP trainings. And so you wouldn't be able to present on cause and effect unless you could come up with an exercise for that topic. And what I would say is pick the topics that we've already designed exercises for, so that way you don't have to do the work, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. So as you go back through your notes, pick the topics that you like, pick the exercises that you found you like the most, and really pick the ones that you're most engaged in. Now, you're not guaranteed to get the topics that you want, and that's one of the reasons why I say pick about 4 topics, because you're going to submit your top 3 choices for your first presentation the first week. We're going to put all those choices together, and we're going to make sure that we don't have a lot of duplicates. So, like for instance, one of the most common ones that everyone seems to want to do is like to dislike. If we get 5 people putting like to dislike in, we obviously are not going to let 5 people do like to dislike because we want to keep the training kind of broad and not have people copying each other's trainings. So come up with 4. You'll put your top 3 down the first week, and then throughout the week and throughout the exercises, we're going to teach you how to develop that work into a 30-minute presentation. And so by the end of the first week, you will have an amazing 30-minute presentation on that topic of NLP. The second week, after the day off, we're going to come back and we're going to start that all over again. You're actually going to start working on a second presentation. So again, in the second week, you'll submit 3 of your favorite picks. We'll put all those together, and then we'll assign the topics out to you and the other students. And again, we just want to make sure there's not a lot of duplicates. Chances are, depending on how big the class is, you're probably going to get your top pick, but it's not guaranteed. So make sure that you pick 3 or 4 that you really like. Now, when it comes to the test, the first 2 weeks of training are what we call NLP Trainers Training. The last 3 days after the second day off are what we call evaluation. And this is where the training now shifts from being a training to evaluating you as a trainer so that we can give you your certificates. And so evaluation is a 3-day process. The first day, we're going to do the NLP test. Now, the NLP test is a test on your knowledge of both practitioner and master practitioner topics. Study the book for the answers, because at practitioner training and master practitioner training, we were not as stringent on grading as we are at trainers training, right? So if you missed a couple words here and there, if you got a step, one order out of step, we might give you a little feedback for it on the practitioner training, but at the trainers training, we're expecting you to get the steps correct. So you will be during the test, you will be writing out the scripts for NLP processes. Now, I'll tell you, I remember when I first went to trainers training, I was not told this until the first day of trainers training, right? And that's one of the reasons why I'm creating this video for you. I don't want to spring it on you. I was told, and everyone in our class was told on the first day, that we had to have all the NLP scripts memorized. Now, I'd been using NLP scripts in my practice, so I had a lot of the processes memorized, but I certainly didn't have I understood every single NLP technique, and if I had my manual in my lap, I could certainly do them. I had the conscious competence. But I didn't have the scripts memorized. And so I remember the very first day of trainers training freaking out a little bit. And I had stuff that came up, right? And a lot of the stuff that came up was stuff from high school. It was some little remnants of those beliefs that I wasn't a good learner, that I wasn't a good student, that I was dumb. And I had these kinds of things come up, and I went to talk to my trainer. And I told her, I said, I'm really worried. I said, I spent a lot of money to be here. I'm spending a lot of time to be here. I've got to have my kids taken care of these 18 days that I'm here. And I said, I'm really worried because I don't think I'm going to pass. And the trainer looked at me and she said, when did you decide that? And I said, yeah. When did I get that? No, this is real. This isn't a when did I decide that, like limiting belief kind of thing. This is real. And she said, when did you decide that? And I said, okay, you don't understand. And I said, here's the thing, like, I don't have that kind of a memory. I said, I can remember vague steps and I can use Milton model patterns to sort of ad-lib it as I go along, but I don't have the kind of memory where I can remember things word for word. And she said, when did you decide that? Right? Because remember, your subconscious mind has a perfect memory. And so what she taught me was a way to use, to memorize the scripts. Now, when she first taught it to me, it's actually a visual rehearsal. And I remember thinking and saying to her at the time, I don't think that's going to work for me because I'm an auditory learner. And she looked at me and said, when did you decide that? And so I went, okay, I'm going to go home and work on all these limiting beliefs. And I went home and I did time techniques on all the limiting beliefs that came up while I was having the conversation with her, right? If you have any limiting beliefs about your learning skill, about your memory, about recall, eliminate those beliefs. You've got tools for that. Do time techniques. Ask yourself, when did I decide it? Go release those limiting beliefs, right? But here is the method that I used to ace my trainers training. What I did was I got myself a notebook, right? And this is a nice notebook. I actually had one of the tear-off kind. But I got paper and I got a pen because, there's that old adage that says, whatever you hear, you forget, but whatever you write, you remember. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So one of the first things that I did was I got out paper, and on one sheet of paper each, I hand wrote all of the scripts from practitioner and master practitioner training. Okay, now that's a lot of pages, right? So expect to use a lot of paper for it. You're going to get a few hand cramps. I definitely got some hand cramps. But what I did was I wrote out those scripts, and I wrote them out page for page, word for word. Now that already started to root those scripts into my subconscious mind. Okay. The next thing that I did was once I had the page written, I would write the script out, and then I would do what my trainer taught me to do, which is to take that paper and hold it up in your visual recall. Now, if you're a normally organized person, visual recall is on your left-hand side. If you're a reverse organized person, visual recall is on your right-hand side. But what you want to do is hold it up into the place where you look to remember things. This will train your brain to look here. Now, I didn't believe I could do this. I had a limiting belief that because I'm an auditory learner that I wouldn't be able to remember. I had a really hard time visualizing when I was a kid. And I didn't believe that I was going to be able to visually remember this. But I had faith and I trusted her. And I decided to do it. So I wrote out the script, and what I would do is hold it in my visual recall, put my eyes up where they go for visual recall. And the idea is you want to scan through the script and get a snapshot of what the script looks like in your head. Okay. Now, once you've got that snapshot, what you want to do is you want to look at it and you want to say each line out loud. Okay, so for like to dislike, for instance, you look up and you say, 1, is it all right with your unconscious mind for you to dislike this food today and for you to be consciously aware of it, right? You say it out loud while you're reading it in visual recall. Then you come down to kinesthetic, put your eyes down to kinesthetic, opposite side down, and then get a feeling. You know that feeling you get when you know the right answer, right? There's sometimes when you get a feeling where you're like, I don't know if that's right or not, and then there's other times you're like, that's the right answer. So you read the question out loud, then you come down and you generate a feeling, step into that feeling of that is the right answer. Okay? Now here's what you're doing. You're creating what's called a synesthesia. You learned about synesthesias in practitioner training a little bit with strategies. This is a synesthesia. A synesthesia is a mix of multiple modalities, right? And so what you're doing is you're creating a synesthesia where you have the correct answer in visual recall, in auditory recall because you can hear yourself saying the words, in auditory digital because you've said it out loud now, and you also have a feeling in kinesthetic whether it's the right answer, right? Or that it is the right answer. And so what's happening is you are using multiple modalities to connect together and find the right answer to that problem. So what you do is you look up and you say the first thing, is it all right with your unconscious mind for you to dislike this food and for you to be consciously aware of it? Then look down and get the feeling. Then come back up to step 2. What is the food that you like that you wish you disliked? Then come down and get the feeling for that. Then go up to step 3, read it out loud, get the feeling for that. Then go up to step 4, get the feeling, go down to kinesthetic. And so basically for each step of the script, you're going to read it out loud while you're reading it, visually, auditory digital, and kinesthetic all mixed into one. And you do that for each step on the script. Then I put it down and then I wrote the next script, right? Say swish pattern. And then I did the same thing. And I went through every step in swish pattern, reading it out loud, getting that kinesthetic, and then I put it down and wrote the next one. Now what I did is for the period of, we were in trainers training for 18 days. So for the first 15 days of trainers training, I was studying each and every day and writing out each script each and every day. And then I would go back and I would do every script again. So each day I would pull out those pages, I would read it out loud, get the kinesthetic, and then go through that whole script. And then I would pull the next script out, read it out loud, get the kinesthetic for each one, go to the next script. And so what was happening was day after day after day after day after day, I was ingraining those scripts into my neurology. Now, I remember the very first day of evaluation. I went in, I sat down, the test was upside down, face down, with a pen next to it. And, we have to turn everything in. You're not allowed to have a cell phone on test day. You're not allowed to have any notes with you, anything. It's a university-style test, right? And so I remember sitting there and, the trainer saying her opening speech. And then she said, go ahead and turn your test over. I remember turning my test over, looking at the first question, and I remember immediately looking up and seeing the answer on the paper in front of me, and I wanted to squeal like a little girl, right? I didn't think it was possible until I sat down and did it. And I spent the whole time. Now, by the way, there were some people there who took 6 hours to finish that test. There were some people who took 3 hours. I finished my test in 45 minutes. Not only did I finish the test before anybody else in the class, confidently handing in each packet as I finished it, but then it came back later that I had actually aced the test and gotten every question right. So this is a really, really powerful process. And for the person who used to think that I was the dumbest kid in school and who thought that I had a bad memory and who thought that I certainly couldn't visualize or have a visual recall of things, it was an amazing process for me. Now, I had to squeeze that process of studying into the first 15 days of training while everything else was going on in trainers training. And trust me, trainers training is a little overwhelming. And as a matter of fact, overwhelm is built into the training for your benefit. Matter of fact, I often tell people the more comfortable and quickly that you succumb to the overwhelm, the better you'll do in trainers training. It's meant to overwhelm you because when we overwhelm your conscious mind, we start ingraining things into the subconscious mind. So trainers training can already be a little overwhelming, and you don't want to have to be hardcore studying like I was every single day in order to pass that test. So what I suggest is that you start right away, right? Get out your prac manual, get out your master prac manual. First thing I suggest you do is just flip through each manual page by page, looking at your notes and just remembering. Just a casual remembering of what happened through the class and the things that you did and the results that you got and all the learnings and everything. Go through your prac manual, go through your master prac manual, all your manuals. Then I suggest you go through and page by page start writing out any page that has a script on it, right? Again, best thing you could do is use your practitioner and your master practitioner tests as guidelines to know what is going to be on the test. It won't be exactly what's on there, but it'll be very similar. And write everything out and go through this process of remembering, and you'll amaze yourself at how good your visual recall is. So that's it. So start preparing, start working on that, studying your tests, studying your manuals, remembering the scripts. Start thinking of 3 or 4 NLP processes that you like, that you would prefer to present on, and then we will take care of everything else at Trainers Training. And it's going to be one of the most magical and definitely the most transformative NLP training you've ever taken. And we're going to have a blast for 18 days, and I know you're going to love it. So let us know if you have any questions, if there's anything that you need at all, and we're here for you. Talk to you soon.